Hi, everyone. I'd like to share a video with you where we talk a little bit about the module 4 functions that are needed for the team project. So I've shared a file on the Ask a Question board called Practice with Empirical Modeling, and it has an additional section called With Model Plots. So let's take a look at this file. In the beginning of the practice file, it talks about how to load data from Excel into Maple. And those steps are listed in parts 1 through 5. Now down here for the example, suppose I've already imported my data and now I want to convert the data to a list. And then in step 2 down here, I'm going to take the list and create a new variable called median price. And if you have any questions with converting your data from Excel, let me know, but I'll assume that that's going okay just based on the Ask a Question board posts and the team posts. And I want to get down here and talk a little bit about making scatter plots. So the scatter plot is a really great tool for plotting discrete data points. It's not going to plot a curve, but it's going to plot all these little dots. And the way it does it, it takes in two variables, month and median price in this case. Each of those have to be lists. So notice that month is actually a sequence, or it's a list of numbers separated by commas. All right, now I could make my own list, and I went ahead and did that here. So I've got X is a sequence from 1 to 5, and Y, I just made up some numbers because I felt like it. And if you try to just do scatter plot alone, if you try to execute this command by yourself, well, it'll come up because I was previously playing around in Maple. But if it doesn't come up right away, you may have to load the statistics package, and you'll know you've got it going on if you see all this output. And you can hide that output by putting a semicolon here to suppress the output. But what that does is it loads the statistics package in Maple and allows it to do things like regression and scatter plots and things like that. And if you're doing other sorts of computations in Maple, you might have to load some other sort of fancy plot or some other sort of fancy package. Anyways, let's move down here into the fitting a model to the data. And here again, you can see I've loaded the statistics package. There is some sample code here for fitting a linear model and quadratic and so forth like that. You can go through those. Measuring the fit. So measuring the fit, this can often be done in a couple of different ways. You can see I asked Maple to give me the residual sum of squares, and then more common is that we'll compute an R-squared value, and that kind of gives us a measure of how good the model fit the data, okay? And then there's some background information about different types of curves you could fit. I'd like to talk a little bit about this last section, and this is about creating a plot of data and also putting the model on that same plot. So if we just created a scatter plot, we'd get all those little dots. And what I've done on this line right here is I saved the scatter plot to a variable called plot1 so that I can call up plot1 in the future and reuse it. And then I did another plot down here, just a regular old plot of a quadratic function, and I saved that as something called plot2 because I want to be able to reuse that in the future. So at the very bottom, here's how I reused that. I said to Maple, okay, please display both plots 1 and plot 2. And you could put in a bunch more. You could make a plot 3 and add that in there as well, and maybe include a little legend so you can see all the different lines. And so that's a really nice way of overlaying one curve onto another scatter plot or what have you. Okay, great. If you have any questions, let me know. But some things to try if you are trying to troubleshoot these scatter plots, make sure you've got the with statistics package loaded. Come over here and try this practice file. Make sure you're typing things in math mode, of course. Notice that I'm in math mode. I'm typing all these things in math mode. And I always recommend students, even myself, when I'm trying to code up something, start with small objects. objects. So in this case, you can see I started with a very small list of data, 5 little data points. I made sure it was working there. And then if that works, you can crank it up and do, operations on really big data sets. But at least you know the code is working before you try to load in big data. Okay, great. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help.